Hey everybody, it's Jordan Fox here, just going to be going over some BJD information with you to try and help you figure out if you're new to buying or if there's something specific that you're looking for when it comes to buying on the secondhand market. So I just wanted to talk mostly about certificates of authenticity and legitimacy of BJDs and how to tell if they're real or if they are a recast, which is the more common term for them. So ball jointed dolls are just articulated dolls made primarily of resin, strung together with elastic and designed for customization. They originated in Japan and South Korea, but have become popular pretty much everywhere across the globe at this point, so it'll be easy to find things on the secondhand market. And so the Certificate of Authenticity, or the CoA, as you can see in front of you here, has like quite a few different formats. And so, for example, there's printed cards, we've got sheets, handwritten or signed, metal plates or tags, stamps and engravings, all sorts of stuff. So more well-known BJD companies like Volks back in the day, they were the ones that had the most easy way to tell if something was legitimate or not, because they put these awesome caps in the back of their head so that you could tell what the numbers are, what it is, and that kind of thing. And they do have engravings on the inside of their caps as well, although this one just says 32 for the number, and then the inside has the Volks stamp as well. So I don't have like an actual certificate for this doll, and I don't have enough Volks to say if they've had certificates outside of the paperwork that you see at the top corner there, which I will go over in a bit. But then there's other dolls as well that didn't have any kind of continuity. Lutz with Service Project, before Service Project became Fairyland. Fairyland does have their certificates now, whereas back when they were working with Service Project, or sorry, with Lutz, they didn't have any kind of continuity, and all they had was stuff like this paper up here. This is what came with Uriel when I got him, and so as you can see, it just says L, and then there's just some Korean writing there, and it's just a photocopied piece of paper. There are some of their one-offs or their more special dolls, like the L's with the elf ears, did actually have a form of certificate or certification, and so a lot of times people just kept their boxes or the tags on the boxes like this to tell whether a doll was legitimate or not. So I'm going to show you some of the stamps inside the head, and then a little bit later on we're going to talk about recasts. But the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to go over the different kinds of certificates that I have, and then we're going to talk about how to make sure you're getting a legitimate doll. So as you can see, I've got a wide variety of different brands of dolls. I've got some certificates of authenticity even for clothing, horns, and some of the clothing simply just came with like extra advertisements and that kind of thing. So we're just going to start with this one. So this is Amanda Sue BJD. She makes mostly horns, and they're absolutely gorgeous. So these are Uriel's horns. He doesn't wear them very often because they tend to get stuck to his crown. But she makes all different kinds of resin colors and everything else like that, so I'd highly recommend checking her out if you're in the market for that. And so she does have a certificate. So this tells me SD Nautilus, dragon horns, full finish, which means that they are completely done instead of ones that you can get to do yourself. The color, her little stamp of approval here, and then just some information and the date that they were made on. So this is kind of nice to have. I like it when people make things like this. So then that way, if something happens to me down the road, people will know what to do with what I've got. Now, Again, there wasn't a lot of continuity back in the day when there was just like Lutz, Volks, and Dolce were like the top kind of 3 selling dolls. A lot of little companies came and went, like, well, we'll get to that later. But you can see even with Dolce, one of these is silver, one is gold, and so there wasn't even continuity there. I got some cards like this, and I got some cards like this. So you can see they did do some of them, but they didn't fill them out all the time. And the writing on these, as these ones get older, tend to be a little bit more difficult to read, but they are stamped. So, and they each came with their own envelope, which was nice. Let's see. So this is a newer company to me. One of my latest dolls is a Doll Family H Gooey Yui. And so their information is like this. And again, you can see it has not been filled out. I suppose I could fill that out myself if I wanted to, but these cards are filled out, which is nice. So I think there's one for the body and then one for the head. And then it's signed here in the corner. And a lot of these companies do come with cards or information so that you can show people or pass it on. Just another way to show that it is more of a legitimate doll, because recasters don't include awesome stuff like this. And some of them are just simply a card that is printed. There's nothing more to it other than the fact that it just says Doll in Mind, Certificate of Authenticity, and then a welcome and their information. So that's Doll in Mind. And Dolce, we'll get out of the way here. So Ring Doll is one of my more prolific companies that I have now. I've got mostly Delfs, and now I've got more Ring Dolls. And so Ring Doll stuff is kind of all over the place, and they also send you a lot of things like stickers and that kind of stuff. So this is simply just a little card that pulls out. Gives you some of their other dolls. Their doll sizes, some more information like their eyes and things like that, and of course I can't read any of this. Some of their nice art, which is good, and then it shows you how to put them together, which is again something a recaster is not going to send you, is this kind of information. The Ring Doll. I don't have them all stacked here because there's a lot of stuff that's the same as they send it. I just wanted to show you a little bit what I got here. So we got some stickers. Now I've never used any of these stickers at all. I don't know, I just like to keep them in. I would never sell a lot of these dolls that I have, but just in case I ever do, I do have some stickers, and I will include them when I sell them. So usually it comes with one of these envelopes. Now not all of them have these cards, and you can see this is not filled out. And this is just another little informational packet, which is nice because they do have English as well as the other language. How to care for your dolls, what does not consider a problem, because some of them do have help if there's something wrong with your doll. Guarantee, how to put in some eyeballs, and then some information on how to contact them. Makeup removal and how to do it. It says don't use makeup nail polish remover, but I actually do use nail polish remover. And then this is just some more of the stuff that they send with it. So if your doll comes with like a bunch of this stuff, then it's almost guaranteed that they are going to be legitimate. Move along, I got this boy. Sun C, I got him. So they make all sorts of sizes from 70 centimeter and down. Ring dolls are one of my favorites because they have such articulate dolls. They stand really well out of the box. If you get a full set, the full sets are beautiful. So the other things that they do tend to come with, like this one is from my ring doll Dracula. Little metal that you can actually pin somewhere if you want. It has their number on the back here so you can know what your number is for your doll, what's registered. But they also more often now come with these. And I actually have a bunch of these that I just bought myself, like a literal tree, like a jewelry tree that looks like a tree. And I hang all these from it because I think that looks nice. And then it's got the number on it as well. So that's a good way to know. If your doll comes with those, then it's legit. And so I'm just going to show you some cards that have come with clothing that I have. This is from Moonlight BJD, which is a Canadian company. Sells dolls like YC doll and whatnot. This came with some of my Volks clothing. Another outfit that I purchased that's worn by my ring doll Amaoni. His name's Mekatet. So cards. You don't necessarily need to keep these, but I don't know, I just like to keep them. Like, I'm not even sure what this is from. This is from an outfit that's one of my favorite outfits. And honestly, like, I'm making this video more for the recording of the history of BJDs, because I'm not going to be around forever. This is the size I got my outfit in. That's my Volks boy. I think it's as important as time goes on for us to kind of honor where our BJDs came from, and you know, it was very humble beginnings. They started in about 1999 with Volks, and it just exploded from there. So sometimes they come, like, I didn't get the full set with the Caleb Fantasy, but he did end up coming with the human head, which I sold recently, and I just sent the certificate of authenticity because I didn't know that the head came with a separate certificate. They were stuck together. But this is for my Sold All Fantasy. And this one's got a certificate number, who he is, it even has my name and sign, date, bought, and it's got this little embossed sticker, which is really pretty. This is for my Universe doll Mega Era, and again, it's another one that's not filled out at all, but that's alright. Probably won't end up selling her. So this one's an old one. This is Elf Doll. Now I know that Rain Man still does things here and there, but he's nowhere near as prolific as he used to be. He used to have his own website, and he sold on other websites as well. So this is the one for my Elf Doll Red. And again, not filled out, but I do have a serial number at the very least. And then we just got a card. And then that card just gives me a little bit more information. And this one's nice because it's got it in English on this side. So this is an old doll. They don't make these anymore. And fun fact, they called Elf Doll Red because when he sculpted him, he was made out of red clay. So let's look at these guys. These guys are a bit of my new obsession as well. YC doll. They're much bigger dolls, and they come with caps on their feet so you can make them taller. This is where Demetrius and Lysander, they are both YC doll. And so they come with these pretty cards, which kind of have like this nice sheen to them. And then the certificate with the information on it, some good numbers for you to know when he was made, what color he is. So this one would be for Demetrius because he's a white skin. And then the other one would be a normal skin, which would be Lysander. So Dalsum is another one of those companies that's kind of all over the place with the information and with their cards. So all I know is this was an SDG body probably, which means this is only like half the certificate. There's probably another one for the head, but at least this one has more information, the year that it was made, and then a sign and a stamp. And there's these ones. They're a little bit bigger, but we still have a number on them, a date that they were made. Now the person who sold this to me was nice enough to tell me that they purchased the Heliot free choice, so this is for my soon Heliot, which is a little bit smaller than the Idelian size. This is a lot of the same stuff here. One second. So this was for my Migma. Sometimes they send extra cards, like I said, but I don't have this for everybody. There's another certificate example from 2011. And this one I believe is for my Hyperon Rise of War, who is an Idelian boy. And no real information other than the year, which is 2015, and the number for him, and that he's an Idelian size, which is the bigger boys. So Zoom also gives these papers here and some information on their dolls, on what else they've sold back in the day. And of course a lot of these aren't very available anymore unless you go on the secondhand market. Like I don't think they sell mini gems very often anymore. Some of them have prices on the bottom here. So these are the Mecha Angel size. These were one of the first ones that were 80 centimeters back in the day, after Dalshi came out. Some Zoom eyeballs, which are kind of some of my favorite eyeballs. They look at you wherever you are in the room, and they're made out of silicone, so they're soft and squishy. And then some information on where they are and their shop. So that's that. And then this is just generic information on the pieces, how they go together. So this one's for my Heliot, I guess. I just feel like it's nice to have that information. I'm not sure what this is. What is this? Oh, this is another certificate of authenticity. Oh, this is for my Soom Zach. So see, this is even another different kind of certificate, even for the Idelians. But I've got one for his body and then one for his head at the bottom here with the numbers. And then how to use it. So Gem of Doll is another company that I really enjoy. Gem of Doll has different kinds of certificates again. I've got 3. So this is for my Gem of Doll Jessen. He was not a full set, and he's one of the smaller, so he's more like, I think, 63 centimeters. And then there's certification on the back here, which is actually filled out, which is nice. And then we got these kind of cards, which again doesn't have any information on it. I don't know if that's a certificate or VIP, but I think that's just a VIP card, because here's the Gaia, and she's got a bigger certificate of authenticity. And then my Gals, which was also a full set. his certificate and how that looks. And so each of these has a little bit of different information in it, but it's more just like pictures of their other dolls. I don't have any of these ones myself, but... And there's my gal. She came with the sword, which was really nice. She's really cute too. I was tempted to get her. Got some softer dolls by them. They're kind of all over the place with the amount of dolls that they have. There's some are soft, some are fantasy, some are rococo, as you can see. Now the details of all of their clothing and their painting of their face-ups and everything is absolutely astounding with Gem of Doll. Highly recommend this company. They stand really well out of the box. And there's my Gaia, that's the one that I have, and she is awesome. I don't have any of their tinies, so I'm not too sure about them, to be honest with you. Okay, so Volks. Now Volks, I don't have any numbers for them, but I do have a Chinatsu. And so if you're going to get papers like this, it's more likely that they're going to be authentic. Some more papers. Now she is a YoSD, which Volks tend to set the precedent on sizes, so YoSD is meant for Volks. However, they did end up calling, if you want the 1/6 size, a lot of people just call them Yos. So just some more information on putting them together, how they sit, how they work, how to work with them if you're changing things like hands. And then the last piece for that one is this, which just folds out, kind of cute. Now Volks, if you get one actually in the Japanese store, they do birthing ceremonies, which I think is what happens here. You go into the store and they do that. I visited Volks when I was in Los Angeles and they didn't have anything set up. They just moved to their new place, so it's kind of out of luck. I mean, it looks like a really awesome place that I'd like to visit. And you show the map to show you how to get there, which is kind of cool. Okay, so the last ones I'm going to talk about are the Delfs, and this is what's going to lead me into more talking about recasts. Now, I have gotten one recast by accident in the past. It was a recasted Delf Type 1 body, and I bought it, but then I knew it was a recast as soon as it got here because it was much smaller than the actual Delf body itself. And so with these guys, they're a little bit more recasted because all they came with was like the paperwork that looks like this. There's only one that I have out of my entire collection that has an actual certificate of the old Delfs, but because of recasting being more prolific, they did start sending out cards like this. Now I think this is after they split with Cerberus Project, but they ended up getting these cards that have like the little embossed thing in the corner, and then it tells me the number and then what doll it is. So this is the Senior Delf Diaz Elf version limited head. And then the other one I have is for my Senior Delf Breeze, which is this guy here with the numbers, so at least the envelopes are even numbered on the back. This is one way you can tell that you've got a legitimate doll. Is again more paperwork telling you how to string the doll and how to care for it. The size and all that kind of stuff is in here as well. So this would have been for a Delf Cherry that I no longer have, but I just kept the paperwork for posterity. Tells you how to use them, how to put them together, how to pose them, and then their information on the back. So my Minifee Shiwu Elf Happy Hour version, he does have the photocopied paper as well, but he came with a nice picture that was printed out with his information on the bottom. And then I do have the Abaddon head as well, so I have kept his card, of course. And then the Luen was the other one that ended up having this card that I have. And he had two heads, just like the Shiwu had two heads. Printed paper. Now the other way you can tell is the box. This is just from the box. I asked her to send it because I didn't want to pay shipping the whole box because it's very expensive to Canada. But the Sleeping L version, I'm not sure how we got L Special with just the L paperwork, because the L Special was the Sleeping L or the Dreaming L, I believe. But then there's Uriel's, the #1 boy here. And then of course I got a couple more in here for the back for the Wusu. So that leads me into the next point that I have, is the lack of continuity with these companies when it comes to stuff like their heads and whatnot, and what you can expect and what you should look for. The unfortunate thing is because there isn't any continuity, it's hard to tell, because some of them even have been done with pencil in the background. So I'm just going to zoom in here. Okay, so this boy and this boy are Wusus. When the Wusu came out, there was the open-eye version and then the sleeping version with the vampire fangs. Now, a lot of people, because they wanted an open-eyed Wusu, they would open the eyes of these ones. So to find one that still has the eyes closed is actually a little bit more difficult. And he does have little fangs there. I don't know if you can see that. And then the Wusu. And so these ones don't say Wusu in them. As you can see, it says #1. And the sleeping one says #2. So that's the open-eyed version, closed-eyed version. Caps again, #1 and #2. They don't have anything else in them to indicate that it is a Wusu. They don't have it in the sides of their heads either, but there is a stamp on the bottom here for both. But again, that's not something they always do. So those are type 1 heads. So the difference with the type 1 head, as you can see, it's a circle like that, and there's nowhere to put that S hook because the S hook hooks into the head cap, and then the head cap is pulled on with it and is held on that way. So to remove heads and make it a little bit easier, they changed it to a type 2. So you can see it looks different, and it's just a neck key that goes inside, you twist it, and then it holds the head on. Now this one says leash 1-1, so I'm guessing that means that her sleeping head would say 1-2. This is her head cap. Now inside the head itself, it doesn't say anything else anywhere else. And so you just kind of gotta trust. That's it, you know. That's all you get for that one. So this one is the same. It's a head cap, and you can see there's no information whatsoever. And this is for my Type 2 Breakaway Sleeping 08. Now, he's got some information in the side here. Let's see if I can get that a little bit easier to see. And then he's got this little question mark thing in his forehead. And that's it. That's all the information we're given with this guy. So as you can see, the Type 2s, Type 1s, they're all different. They all have different stuff on the inside. And so you just kind of have to either ask around with the community, or if you're not sure and you'd really like help identifying if your doll is a recast or not, you can always hit me up on here in Instagram. Just drop me a line below. So I just wanted to show you what the neck key looks like. So this kind of looks like that, and it's got a hook. Usually this is a 3D printed one because they don't sell them separately, unfortunately. So if you're buying just a head, you can get these 3D printed by at Dreamforest Dolls on Instagram. And so you just slide the head on like that, and then you lock the key into place, and then that's how that head stays on. So there are other ways that you can tell if a head is or a doll is legitimate, and that's by looking on the inside of them. A regular doll is going to have the drilling and that kind of stuff on the inside is going to be much more smooth than not. But I'm just going to go over kind of like a guideline here. So most companies have the CoA, as we've discussed, but that's not always the case. Some is a card, some is not, and then some just have our sheet of paper. There's no serial number or anything. Now again, size can be a different indicator. If it's much smaller than your other dolls, then it's likely that you've got a recast, especially if it's from another company. So I showed you all my engravings inside the heads and that kind of thing, so that can be another indicator. Now, if you look at the doll closely, especially if you compare it to like what's up on the company's website, or if you have a friend that has that doll as well, then you can tell usually by like authentic dolls have sharp lines, smooth, consistent resin. So if there's like uneven coloring, or if they look like there's less like detail to them, then chances are that that could be a recast. So most companies will leave a seam line up the sides of things. That's normal, but a double seam line is not. That usually means it's a copied mold. You can check the stringing channels. They should be well formed and drilled very well. Recasts have poor molding or leftover marks from the original doll. Company face-ups are much more crisp. Recasts are maybe a little bit blurry or not the actual face-up. So if you have a face-up that another face-up artist has done, it might be a little bit more difficult to tell. Original dolls will have their branded boxes with padding, but recasters have been recreating some of the boxes, so be careful with that. Let's see, what else? Yeah, I guess you could just ask the community. That's going to be real helpful. I wouldn't ask on places like Den of Angels because they have a strict recast policy. And so we just want to make sure that we're not going to get in trouble or banned from that by posting a recast anywhere. There's a huge stigma against people who purchase recasts, and the recasts are not looked upon favorably in the community. So I would just be very careful if you do accidentally buy one to just make sure that everything is kosher, or to ask. So yeah. That's pretty much all I have to say about companies and recasts and all that kind of stuff. Again, if you have questions, just go ahead and drop me a line, and we'll be sure to help you out as much as possible. And so we're just going to end off here with Uriel because he's cute.